Good morning, everybody. I hope you've had a great week at school or with your virtual learning. We welcome you this morning to Sunday school, to our sacred space. Now, I ask that everybody take their shoes off and kind of get the wiggles out, get ready to go in and listen to some amazing stories. And we're going to have an awesome time together this morning. Are you ready to enter the sacred space?
Good morning, everybody. So good to have you here. I'm not seeing you, but it's good to have you here. It is March 28th, and it is Palm Sunday, and we are doing Faces of Easter 7 today. But before we do that, let's look at the circle of the church here and where our arrow is. It's pointing at Palm Sunday, the day before Easter. Now, Kathleen has a very special song or songs for us today on this very special day. Kathleen?
All right, today we're singing Were You There? And I think we'll just go ahead and do it. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? You there when he rose up from the dead? Were you there when he rose up from the dead? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when he rose up from the dead? In the beginning, the baby was born. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. Listen to those words very carefully. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. And a wordless child, the Word became a wordless child. And when the baby looked up into the face of the mother Mary, he could see the cross there. And when the baby looked up into the face of the father, Joseph, the cross was there too. And the mother Mary and the father Joseph cared for the baby, fed it, and it nourished it, and it began to grow. The baby grew and became a boy. When Jesus was about 12 years old, he went with the mother Mary and the father Joseph and other people from the village of Nazareth to the great city of Jerusalem, going through the great gates into the city of Jerusalem for one of the high holy days. And after the holy days were finished, everyone from Nazareth got back on the road to go home. And as they walked along, Mother Mary and Father Joseph suddenly realized that Jesus was no longer with them. They thought he'd been playing with some of the boys from the village. They ran and hurried back into the city to look for him. They went down the dark and narrow streets. They went to the marketplace where they had bought their food. They went to the place where they had stayed, and they hadn't found him. And they looked for 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, they went into the temple, and there he was. He was talking with the priests. And when they spoke, he listened because he wanted to learn more. And when he spoke, they listened because he seemed to know so much. And Mother Mary and Father Joseph came up to Jesus and asked that question that all parents ask. Why did you do this? And Jesus replied, didn't you know I needed to be in my Father's house? And that puzzled Mother Mary and Father Joseph because their house was in Nazareth, next to Joseph's carpentry shop. They didn't understand, but they didn't forget. The boy grew and became a man. When Jesus was about 30 years old, he went down to the Jordan River to be baptized by his cousin John. He waded out into the water and walked up to John. Look, here's John. This is the back of John's head. He was a wild man. And when Jesus walked up to John, he said, baptize me. And John looked at him as if for the first time and said, no, you are the Messiah. You must baptize me. And Jesus said, no, it is written that you are to come before me and prepare the way. Baptize me. And when Jesus went down into the darkness and the chaos, and when he came back out into the light, some people thought they saw a dove over Jesus' head. And other people thought they heard a voice saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. After Jesus was baptized, he went across the Jordan River into the desert to find out more about himself and what his work was to be. And the wilderness is a dangerous place. There's very little to eat. And after 40 days, Jesus was hungry. And a voice came to him and said, turn that rock over there into bread. And Jesus said, no, human beings do not live on bread alone. And then suddenly it was as if he was on top of the temple in Jerusalem. And the voice said to him, leap from the top of this roof, and the angels will catch you before you smash into the rocks below. And Jesus said, no, it is not good to doubt God. And then it was as if he was above all the kingdoms of the world. And the voice said to him, bow down and worship me, and I will make you king over all of these kingdoms. And Jesus said, I am to be a king. I am a king, but not that kind of king. Jesus went back across the Jordan River to do his work. But what was his work? Look, his work was to come close to people. Look, he has come so close to this man here that he has touched his eyes. And that was Jesus' work. His work was to come so close to people to change them, to make the blind see, to make the lame to walk. And when these people changed, they became well. And finally, Jesus turned to go back to Jerusalem. He told parables, and he was becoming a parable. So he realized he needed to return to Jerusalem. And Jesus went back to Jerusalem. And the people there welcomed him, cheering. And they thought he was a king to take over and move the Romans out of Jerusalem, out of the land of Israel. But they weren't paying attention. And he came into the city, and people waved palm branches. But Jesus wasn't riding on a big white horse. He didn't have an army with him. In fact, he was riding on a donkey. And the donkey wasn't even his. He had borrowed it. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jesus was teaching in the temple. And in the evening, he would cross over with the 12 to the Mount of Olives, where they were staying. And people looked and whispered that this is where the place where the angels were going to come down and drive out the Romans. On the next day, Jesus was in the temple, and he said, look at that woman there, that poor older woman. She's going to put all that she has into the money box. Listen, do you hear anything? No, that was all she had. Now look at that other man, that rich man. Look at all the money that he has, and as he dumps it into the money box, it makes a clang and all kinds of noise. Now, which one was better? The old woman or the rich man? Who offered more? Then, Thursday night, the temple guards say, we will take Jesus tonight. But then they couldn't find him, because Jesus and the 12 had snuck down through the dark and narrow streets, through a door into an upper room where they were going to have supper together. And after they had finished eating, Jesus took the bread, broke it, and said, when you do this, I will be there. When you share this, I will be there with you. And then he took a cup of wine, and he said, when you drink this, I will be there with you too. And the disciples looked at each other and said, what is he talking about? He says things like this all the time. They didn't understand, and later they understood. Then Judas got up and left the room. The rest of the disciples and Jesus sang a hymn and went across over to the Mount of Olives, where Jesus was going to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane. After he was done praying, a crowd, including the soldiers and Judas, were coming in with torches. And Judas came up to him, kissed him, and hailed him and kissed him. And that was the sign for the soldiers to take him away. And Judas ran off into the darkness, as did all of the disciples. The next day, it was a dark and confusing day. They took Jesus outside the city and they crucified him. And then they took him down from the cross and they put him in a tomb and they rolled the stone door, shut. The next day, it was quiet. It was so quiet you could almost hear the earth breathe. And then the women came to attend to Jesus, and they found that he was gone. And that is the happy part the joyous part of Easter. We have the crucifixion, the darkness of the crucifixion, and we have then the light of joy, of celebration in the Eucharist, in the bread and the wine. And everything becomes white of celebration. Wait, there's something missing here. We have a beginning, we have a middle, and we have an end. We have an end here, but we also have a beginning here. So our story really is not in a line. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to change this story up. So the story has no beginning and has no end. The story is continuous. Well, thank you all for being here today. It's been a privilege to talk to you, to tell you about the mystery of Easter and the faces of Easter and the 6 weeks now of getting ready for Easter. And next week is Easter. And I want to wish all of you a very, very happy and joyous Easter. And we'll see you the week after Easter. God bless and be well.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope that you enjoyed our Godly Play lesson and the wonderful music that you just got to sing along to.